So thanks for joining this morning for this joint presentation with myself, Martin Harrington from NavVis, and Tom Larner, Solutions Lead at Jacobs. We're really talking about, well, I'll be introducing NavVis, but Tom's going to be talking about sort of why Jacobs have invested in NavVis technology and also how they've integrated it into their existing workflows. So briefly, introduction to NavVis. NavVis stands for Navigation and Visualization. We are a German company, but with a global reach now, so we're working all across the world. I've come into the UK to really sort of like focus on growing the business a couple of years ago, and we set up the UK entity in 2022. We're founded just over 10 years ago, and our HQ is in Munich. And as I said, we're a global company now with almost 400 people working across regional offices in different parts of the world. So if you don't know NavVis, what do we offer? Well, NavVis offer a technology solution of dynamic laser scanning with the VLX system. It's a wearable device. So it's a fusion of different sensors. We've got inertial measurement units and different sort of LiDARs on different planes, camera array, collect data very, very quickly using our proprietary simultaneous localization and mapping technology. And then that data goes into the NavVis IVION Processing Cloud for automatic processing. So it's taking all the labor really out of your registration. So you put the data into the cloud, it processes automatically. IVION will then sort of optimize your data, eradicate drift, create the panoramic images, clean your data, remove spray, noise, dynamic objects. And then that data goes into IVION Core, which is that sort of collaboration software, the presentation software that you can then deliver and utilize and work from. So that's essentially a single source of truth that people can collaborate and work sort of upon. And also cropping and downloading that data, bringing it into different sort of third-party solutions if you're creating BIM-ready models, taking data into CAD and so on. Oh yeah. So a little bit about the hardware. It's the VLX system. If you haven't seen it, we've got the stand over there, booth, what is it, G204, I think. It's a wearable device, and what I really like about it, what attracted me over to NavVis was really the complete nature of your scan data. So the completeness of the scan data, the quality of the output, and of course, being a wearable device, you know, the camera arrays above your head, you're taking the data very, very quickly, dynamically. So what you can achieve in a short period of time is pretty amazing in terms of the quality of the output and completeness of your data. The camera array, as I said, is above your head. So these cameras are creating a panoramic image in IVION. So the processing part will create the panoramic image that you can jump into. It's essentially a pseudo scan position. So you can kind of navigate through your panoramic images within IVION. You've got the two LiDARs. They're on two different planes. So that allows for complete coverage. This system can scan up to 2.5 million points per second. So it's, in terms of data acquisition, you're taking in a lot of data. That allows for really comprehensive subsampling to give you good quality data. So the finesse, really, the clever stuff's happening in the software. In terms of the ergonomics, people ask about the weight of the device. It kind of just rests on your shoulder, really. The weight sits in a belt hook at the base of the scanner. So you wear a belt with it, and that allows for the pivoting of the device as well. So when you're navigating through small spaces, you can pivot the device like that, and also take it off to take in control points. And then I think crucially, it's a forward-facing design, so you can really see what you're scanning. So I'm sure anybody using terrestrial scanners will put the scanner down, look around, see where your line of sight. With NavVis, you're walking around, scanning dynamically through your facility. So the completeness and the coverage is really kind of unprecedented. And then you can see that data being presented live on the integrated OLED screen as well. So you get this live mapping feedback. So you can see exactly what you've scanned, what you haven't scanned. And that allows for sort of, you're avoiding occlusions, you're avoiding shadow and sort of missed areas in your scan data as well. I mentioned controls. So if you're integrating control points, you do it live. So you take the device off and align it to your control target. That could be anything. It could be, as long as it's a coordinated point, it could be a pseudo scan position, a retro target, or it could be a checkerboard or a nail. It could, as long as it's a coordinated point, we can utilize that. And you can align it at any angle as well, because we've got this high-grade inertial measurement unit embedded in the system as well as part of that sensor fusion. Why dynamic scanning? Well, I mentioned the completeness and the speed of data acquisition, of course. But as I said, what I really like about it is you're walking around, you're covering everywhere, you're not missing anything. The device folds down as well, so for transportation, it folds in half, and then you can transport it in either a flight case or a rucksack if you're traveling by public transport, perhaps. And then I want to talk about IVION Core. So this is really where all the intelligence happens with NavVis. You brought the data into cloud processing, data's processed overnight automatically, and then it's presented an IVION Core, which you're using and perhaps distributing as a product in itself, as a deliverable. So we've got a short video here. You'll see that it's this is my demo instance, but it's a web link. It's got the last couple of scans that I've been looking at. You can navigate by the map as well. So I've got all these live sites that I'm hosting currently in the cloud. With NavVis, I can look out, I can actually type in and find the site that I want to kind of go into. So this plant room, for instance. Incidentally, this was a very, about 10 minutes of me sort of walking around, but it's quite a complex facility. You can see the number of positions I've actually sort of taken images from, so I can jump into any of those. And it's very similar to sort of, if you can use Google Maps, you can use NavVis IVION. So the simplicity of this really allows people we're sort of democratizing the scan data, this big data, this mass data, can be very easily consumed and utilized. You'll notice person blurring algorithm has taken this my chaperone out of the data. So automatically they've been blurred from the image and also eradicated from the scan data. So not getting projected onto your scan, sort of colorizing things that, otherwise you wouldn't want colorized with the person there. And of course I can crop and download the data as well. So if you're bringing this data out of the cloud, you want to perhaps model this portion of the site, you can cut a slice around the data that you want to actually model. In this instance, perhaps these tanks, hone in on exactly what you want to bring out of the cloud. That can be exported on a spatial reference system. So if you're working on National Grid, OSGB, something like that, if it's been controlled. And hopefully you can see sort of the completeness, the colorization, the quality of the output as well. So you've got this data ready to export for modeling as well. If you did need to take it into perhaps an existing sort of workflow into a CAD, for instance. On that, we can export various different file types as well. So anything from E57 files to RCS, POD files, really to integrate with your existing workflow. So that's really part of it for the modeling element. So jumping back into the panoramas, you can navigate around. You can see I've put some points of interest in here as well, just for reference, sort of things that I might want to take a look at or collaborate on or share with a colleague. Perhaps they're working in a different country and I can share this data. Maybe an inspection of this site has identified some corrosion of a pipe or something to that effect. I can create the actual point of interest, add in perhaps web links or photos or videos or voice notes or anything like that, source code even. Put some notes about maybe a task to undertake and then share that with a colleague to perhaps go and do that task. And they could find that point using the route planning facility as well. And then also we've got an array of different sort of measuring tools at your disposal. You can see the coordinates are popping up in OSGB. You can turn those off incidentally, but in this case I can take the floor to ceiling height and get the proper ortho measurement, or I can do point to point or cumulative measures or perhaps area measures. And that's how a lot of our sort of end users are actually kind of consuming this data. They're jumping into the images, not even perhaps being aware that there's a point cloud behind that, informing all these good quality dimensions and measurements. And I just wanted to show a couple of stills of some scans that I've done in various different sites. I really like it. Well, I'm sort of a bit biased from a background towards heritage, so I really like it for scanning kind of heritage projects. But hopefully you can see the completeness, the colorization of some of these projects that I've walked through and maybe scanned. I think it was about 30 minutes scanning that church and about an hour scanning this big sort of retail facility. Topographical, because you've got the scanners facing down and you're getting this kind of completeness of your data. It's really powerful for doing topographical surveys. So again, very photorealistic, but you can see all your detail, the cracks in the pavement and so on. Cliffs, complex facilities. I mean, I've scanned pretty much everything with the NavVis system. And I think I'll just sort of labor on this one a little bit, just the colorization, completeness of the data. I mean, that to me, it's difficult to identify that that's actually a point cloud. I mean, it's so photorealistic. But the quality really is in the details. So when you're taking the data out of the cloud, this is usable data for drafting, for CADing, if indeed you are sort of modeling from this data, and a lot of our customers are. Just touching on the use cases, I mean, we're really working across lots of different sectors now. The data is very usable for all of these types of surveys, topographical, measured building survey, scan to BIM, all the kind of surveys that I used to be involved with as a surveyor. But adding in things like virtual tours and sort of, digital twin and street scenes and things like that, space planning, for instance, construction verification, but workflows as well. Working across all these different sectors as well currently. And touching on one of these sectors, so NavVis being integrated into Network Rail's software architecture. Network Rail are putting all of their properties in the cloud with NavVis. So that's up to, well, it's probably over now, 18,000 properties. About 20 million square meters is the plan to put everything, the platforms, the concourses, in the cloud with NavVis. So all the stakeholders can interact with that data, use it. And by digitizing this enormous portfolio, it allows for the proactive management of these assets. And I'll just end on this little fly-through that our friends at VIS created for NavVis. So this is NavVis data. I suppose just to showcase that we can interact with different software as well. A couple of hours of me walking around the historic town of Rye in Sussex. I've gone inside sort of churches and castles. I've walked around the street scenes, basically scanned the whole sort of historic town in a couple of hours with the system. So incredible coverage, quality of data, but also, I just think the colorization completeness is really what sort of catches the eye. But thinking about that, I've collected this data, put it in the cloud, it's processed overnight, and I've got this data at my fingertips to use the next day. So a couple of hours of scanning, and we've scanned pretty much a whole town. So, over to Tom.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Sort of hovering in. Hello, everyone. So I'm Tom Larner. I'm a principal surveyor and solutions lead at Jacobs. For those of you that don't know, Jacobs, global consultancy, basically offering a whole raft of professional services. In our survey and reality capture business, we're dotted all over the country. We've got a good geographic spread, but we're primarily an internal service provider. So our toolbox is varied. We've got a lot of equipment at our disposal. We're using all the manufacturers out there, like and Trimble. But the key for us really is making sure that we're using the right tool for the job. So it's always about making sure that we get the right tool out of the box to solve the right problem. So I want to talk to you about a case study, project that we've been involved with for a couple of years. Housing association, they've got 21,000 homes, and they're all different types of archetypes. We've got high-rise buildings right down to small one-bedroom flats. And our client has come to us and they've asked us to go and capture floor plans, BIM models of all of these properties, but they've also got, these properties are all occupied. We've got people living in them, so there's a lot of access constraints around getting in and out of that. They want us to capture it once and then try and sort of provide a digital platform so that we can do multiple virtual site inspections. And they want us to try and take them on that sort of 2D to 3D journey. They've asked us for floor plans. They really want a Revit model. They're not quite sure how to get there, that sort of thing. It's quite a common story. So our solution, or kind of, is really, we went with straight into the toolbox. What have we got at our disposal right now? So we went with like a RTC 360 for the point clouds and a Matterport. Chose that option because of the image quality of an RTC wasn't quite good enough for what we were trying to get. But it also meant that we were also capturing fast data. So we were able to knock the imagery off the RTC, which is getting our scan times down to 30 seconds. And then the Matterport was only a minute to take those images. So it's a tried and tested workflow for us. It's something that we do all the time. All of our surveyors know what they're doing with it. It's quick, it's relatively quick, it's good quality data. And then our client gets access to that information as well. However, it does mean more equipment, you need more staff, it's relatively inefficient to go through it. We all know from terrestrial laser scanning that you have a lot of data from that. So managing that data is really challenging, especially when you've got access constraints in buildings. You happen to come in and out at different times to tile that data together. So, you find yourself sitting there at your desk thinking there must be a better way, which then leads us on to where NavVis came along. So we spoke to Martin, got the equipment, gave it a good demo, tested it, and we found that the data capture was twice as fast, if not 3 times as fast. We're using 1 staff using the equipment rather than 2 staff. So we're already starting to get all these savings. That data then pushes through into IVION, as Martin was talking about earlier, which then basically gives us this single source of truth, underpinned by the accuracy of the NavVis. So you've not got 2 different systems, you're not trying to flick between 2 different things, someone taking a measurement in the point cloud, then taking a measurement in the photo, there's slight discrepancies. We know that everything is aligned, single source of truth. And then we're able to do our multiple inspections, take dimensions, look at other pieces of the building, feed that into the BIM model later on. So when we think of NavVis, we really just think of, 2 seconds, flexibility for us is really what NavVis means. So it overcomes that access constraint problem that we were talking about. So it means that we were able to get in and out as and when access was provided by our client. We could nip in, nip out, no very limited disruption to the people that are living in these properties. It overcomes the data management problem because everything's stored in IVION. We're not worrying about having masses and masses of data that we're trying to pass around between people. And Jacobs is a global business and we've got a global workforce. So we want to be able to provide data to people all over the world that can feed into various different models and reports and things like that. So having a platform like IVION enables us to do that. So the data's absolutely brilliant. If anybody's seen any of the data, it's as good as any other point cloud data that I've seen. It's clean. It fits into our workflows perfectly. So our current sort of topographic feature extraction workflows using LSS, SCC and Topodot, we've got the integrated pano photos into the E57, so you can extract straight off the imagery. And then the point cloud's really complete. So it means that Revit modeling becomes very simple. We don't have a lot of shadows that you get normally with a terrestrial system. And then the data is also dense enough and the colorization is so good that making reality meshes using like a 3DR or Bentley iTwin becomes really, really simple and you get some really immersive data. There's just a few examples here of some of the projects that we've worked on. You can see there's a real range of different things that we've used the NavVis for. Some high-rise buildings, heritage buildings, right down to topographic surveys, rural and urban environments. And we're able to generate full Revit models of electrical equipment, so the density of the data is good enough for us to get that resolution to be able to create those models. So for us, we look at everything when we're trying to make this investment. We sort of trying to work out why should we buy this over something else, and we start looking at these criteria. So anybody who's been over to the stand and picked up the kit, you'll feel as soon as you pick it up, it's heavy, it's got a bit of weight to it, it feels well made, it's really solid. I mean, it's German after all, it's gonna be pretty good. It gives us increased efficiencies. Can it improve the safety of our people on site? Well, the fact that they're there a lot less time, they're in and out, they're exposed to a hazardous environment or potential hazardous environment for a lot less time. So for us, big tick for us for safety. Compatibility, we've already talked about the data being really good. It can fit in with our existing software workflows, so there's no need for extra training. NavVis have a really good online training course, videos and everything. So we just sit someone on that for an hour and they're ready to go. They can get straight out on site and start capturing data. And then product support, the guys at NavVis have been great. They're always attentive. There when we need if we've got a problem, they're there to help us straight away. And all of this is great, and these are the main considerations. Obviously, we do have to consider the cost of the thing as well, and that really just comes down to kind of a return on investment question, really. And when you start thinking about you using cloud computing for your processing, and you start taking all of those, the savings that you get, you've got your staff on site capturing data more. They're actually doing project work, live project work, rather than sitting in the office. You can leave IVION to worry about your processing overnight. Wake up in the morning, bang, you're straight into your Revit model. There's none of that delay that you normally get with terrestrial scanning. So we have a facility. One of our offices got a laboratory in it. So we've got a grid system set up in there. And we test all of the sensors that we own, and anything that we demo and trial all gets sent there. We've got a control network. We know it's good, and we can check it against other data sets. So we tended to use RTC 360 data as our kind of baseline. That's kind of like, our go-to. And then we brought the NavVis in, and actually what we were finding that not only did it align perfectly to the RTC data, but it was also giving us better coverage. It was a more complete data set. We were getting risers on staircases rather than just the treads and things like that. So we were able to get a more immersive data set. There is obviously a density drop-off over range, but the accuracy holds throughout that. So that's good for us. And, finally, NavVis is just, for us, ticking all the boxes. We've got that high quality and low noise data, fast acquisition, image quality for that multi-user experience, and that global kind of mobilization that we use. It integrates with our software. It all comes in one box, so it's nice and easy to transport. Yeah, it's good coverage. And then we've got that online training platform. And the final tick is it comes with a door wedge to hold your door open. And any surveyor in the room will know how important it is to have something to hold the bloody door open for you when you're doing your work. So that's one for us. So Jacob's, message really is about challenging today and reinventing tomorrow. So it's exactly what we've done with NavVis. We've taken our existing workflow, challenged it. How can we do this better? How can we be more efficient? Let's reinvent it. Let's reinvent that workflow, get NavVis on board, and that's where we are now. So yeah. That's it for me, Mark. Thank you. And if you've got any questions, ask Martin.